Hey, Ron.
Yay.
Let everybody in.
Don't you know, they're talking about a revolution sounds like a whisper. Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the front lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of self, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds whisper. Poor people gonna rise up and get their share. Poor people gonna rise up and take what's theirs. Don't you better run, 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 run. Oh, I said you better run, 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 run. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Oh, no. Talking about a revolution. Oh, standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know? Talking about a revolution sounds whisper. Finally, the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Finally, the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Oh, no.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the History and Healing Summit. My name is Lauren Manalo. My pronouns are she, her, and I will be your host for this evening. Welcome to a very special edition of our monthly social solidarity event, the History and Healing Summit. I know it's been a stressful time, so we appreciate you all sharing space with us here this evening. If I could have somebody change the slide for me, thank you. So we would like to thank our facilitators today and first lift up our live captioner, Darren, who is providing accessibility services today. We're also very appreciative of Melissa Colibri, who supported and coordinated accessibility for this event today. As a reminder for all the participants who will be speaking, please pace your talk for captioning. Please mute yourselves. I will be taking your notes today. Quay will be monitoring the chat. And Candy, of course, will be helping us with tech. So thank you, everybody, for your help today. Let's get us started with some introductions. Please let us know in the chat your name, pronouns, location, and one word to describe your current mood right now. I know there's probably a lot of words that you might want to use, so feel free to just use more than one. That's okay with us. And while you all put your introductions into the chat, we're going to show our community agreements and share some brief announcements for you. Thank you. So here are some guidelines that we aspire to uphold. One agreement we really want to highlight today is to bring openness and awareness of trauma history. We're all showing up with varying experiences and personal histories of trauma. So now especially is a moment where we ask that you please be aware of that and practice patience and kindness with each other. And hello, Miss Piggy. I'm also hungry for mac and cheese. That sounds delicious. So we're also looking forward to another event this week from the ASC Action Committee this Friday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Now is the time is an open virtual get together for people to meet ASC members and hear their experiences about organizing and how they came into this work. So if you've been called to join a movement or organize, please join in and RSVP. You can email asiansolidarity@gmail.com. Hello, Rike. Hello, June, and hello, Mela and May and Colin. So many people today. And I'm very excited to welcome our hosts, who, as someone said in the chat today, are serving looks today. Our hosts for today's summit are Stacey, she, hers. Stacey is an independent designer, illustrator, and zine maker. She also writes and illustrates a history zine called Radical History Club, and its aim is to unsettle colonizer, capitalist, and anti-Black narratives of U.S. history. She'll be covering the history portion of the agenda today. May Case, she, hers. May is a first-generation Filipina immigrant who currently works in the nonprofit sector for a homeless services provider. When she's not advocating for an equity-based approach to fighting homelessness, she is dedicated to community building and empowerment through civic engagement and organizing. May will be leading our strategy planning portion. And we have Amelia. Amelia is a first-generation Indonesian entrepreneur and yoga instructor. She is co-founder of A&E Wellness. In her business and practice, she focuses on creating, decolonizing, and accessible spaces for wellness. Amelia is on a mission to support people in being their best selves through mind and body holistic modalities. So be sure to stick around to the end for her healing and journaling session. And now I'm very happy to kick this off with Stacey for the history portion of our agenda this evening.
Thanks, Lauren. Hi, I'm Stacey, as Lauren mentioned. So I'm going to talk a little bit about ground us in some history lessons. And basically just want to start out by saying that the narrative we're taught in schools is that we're on this constant trajectory towards progress. They say struggles happened in the past and that's over now, so we can sit back. But in reality, people have always had to fight. History, if you study beyond the whitewashed narrative, is actually a perpetual struggle. And most people, especially Black and Indigenous people, have never been able to sit back and let freedom come. This election cycle is important and worth participating in. And history shows voting alone is not enough to create change. And we can see that even in the history of the right to vote itself. So my mission tonight is to convince you that everyone has a role to play in the movement, and that needs to happen more than every 4 years. So we're going to cover these major milestones from Reconstruction to Jim Crow, the fight for Chinese citizenship, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the exclusions that still exist to this day. It's not lost on me that there is so much history left out of this outline, but I hope it can help anchor us in something tangible so that we feel ready to move on. So I wanted to create a content warning for what's ahead. We'll be covering the history of voting, and with that comes discussions of state-sponsored terrorism, lynchings, and slavery. We know that you know yourself best, so please take breaks if you need to and come back when you're ready. No hurt feelings here. So let's start with Reconstruction. The period after the Civil War is known as Reconstruction. The 13th Amendment that organizers fought for to abolish slavery made the formerly enslaved freed, but not necessarily free. And that's because the entire concept of citizenship and what it meant only applied to white men. But the freed people organized boycotts, strikes, they created union leagues for defense, and by 1867, 80% of freedmen were registered to vote. And 14 Black men were elected to Congress the following year. And one of them was Robert Smalls, who's shown here, a representative of South Carolina. So just 6 years prior to this, he actually escaped enslavement. He commandeered a Confederate transport ship for the Union during the Civil War, and he went on to serve in Congress for 5 terms. So it's hard to imagine these days, but this Congress actually had a vision for the country. And with pressure from organizers, they worked quickly to actually implement it. They passed the first tax-supported public schools, and they enacted 8-hour workdays for federal employees. So in response to these wins in Congress, unfortunately, a surge of organized white terrorism and state-sponsored lynchings wreaked havoc, convincing both northern and southern states to abandon the cause of Reconstruction. And President Rutherford B. Hayes even agreed to withdraw federal troops protecting freed people from the South in order to just win more Southern delegates. And in 1898, there was a coup in North Carolina known as the Wilmington Massacre. You can see a photo of that up at the top right. White supremacist Democrats burned down Black newspapers across North Carolina. They shut down entry into Wilmington, and they overthrew the elected government. As many as 90 Black people were killed that day. And shortly after white supremacists took over the government, Jim Crow laws were enacted in North Carolina and across the South, including poll taxes and literacy tests to disenfranchise Black voters. So I know at this moment especially, this history feels really bleak, but we have to recognize what is possible when people get a seat at the table, and at the same time, how far people are willing to go to take it back. And that same year, as the Wilmington Massacre, was an important case for Chinese Americans that was decided in San Francisco. So once labor was no longer needed from Chinese immigrants, the sentiment towards them grew more hostile. In 1871, 17 Chinese immigrants were lynched by a Los Angeles crowd in one of the largest mass lynchings in US history. And the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed during this time to suspend Chinese immigration for 10 years and to declare Chinese immigrants ineligible for citizenship. Wong Kim Ark, who is pictured here, he was born in San Francisco. He was detained after returning from a visit to China. And the customs chief at the time, John Wise, was looking for a case to question US-born citizens with immigrant parents. So to Wise, Ark being born in the US was an accident of birth that didn't override the fact that his parents were foreigners. So across the US, white supremacists wanted citizenship to be a right of blood rather than a right of soil. And eventually the court sided with Ark and granted citizenship status to children born of immigrant parents in the US. And still, Ark was required to show signatures of white men to prove his birthplace, and Chinese naturalization and voting rights were not even put in place until 1943. So again, even when proclamations are written through legislature, it still requires resistance and pressure to make them enforced and applicable. And this story kind of repeats again and again throughout US history. So we're going to skip really far ahead to 1965. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was neither the beginning nor the end of granting the right to vote to all people. In fact, some people had to risk everything in order for this act to be passed and enforced. In the 1950s, for instance, landowning Black people were important contributors to the movement because of their economic independence. And that's also just another reason to fight, for us to fight for all of us to have what we need, because that means that we can all be part of the movement together. Vernon and Ellie Damer were successful Black store owners in Mississippi. This is his wife that's pictured here on the left, holding a picture of her and her husband. Vernon helped establish SNCC in Hattiesburg. He encouraged young people to organize and was the president of the Forest County NAACP. After the Voting Rights Act of 1965, Vernon went on the radio to offer support for Black people voting for the first time. If they were afraid to pay the poll tax downtown, they could pay at his store, or if they didn't have the money, he offered to pay it for them. And that night, unfortunately, the Klan firebombed the Damers' home with Vernon, Ellie, and 3 of their small children inside. And Vernon died the next day. So the photo on the top right is of their 4 sons looking over what was left of their home. Their 4 sons actually had to leave their military posts abroad in order to come home to bury their father. And so at the very bottom is a photo of Lyndon Johnson shaking hands with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. after signing the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Keep in mind that what happened to the Damer family actually happened after this bill was passed. So countless instances of violence and resistance occurred before and after this moment. And I think what this does is it tells us that we can win, yes. And we must continuously defend those wins and each other to make them real. So even when concessions are won, it takes organization and solidarity building to make them a reality, which is why it's not really a surprise that there are still so many people whose right to vote is not protected. So there's those convicted of a felony or on probation, which luckily, as of today, is now reversed in California thanks to Prop 17 being passed, which shows that we got some things done yesterday. Congress members representing Washington, D.C. do not have any votes. Residents of U.S. territories of Puerto Rico, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, and the American Samoa, and that's over 3 million people, do not have the right to vote. Native Americans who want to exercise their right to vote may not always be able to. And really anyone with hardships made heavier by the state are also excluded. And we've seen that throughout this entire election cycle. That can look like anything from requiring special voter IDs to limiting polling places. So each of these people is governed by US law, and to an extent they pay US taxes. And yet they have no power over the decisions that affect their lives. So this should be a call for everyone that our liberation is collective and that we cannot demand that everyone vote without acknowledging that some people are still disenfranchised to this day. And I just wanted to point out on the far left, that's a photo of Anthony Ray Hinton. If some of you are familiar with the Equal Justice Initiative, he was one of the prisoners on death row who was exonerated for the crime, and he voted for the first time in this election in, I believe, 30 years. And on the right there, that's Lucy Nicole Pula of the Penobscot Nation in 1955. She was the first Native American woman to vote in the state of Maine. So what does this history mean for us today? I think it means that we need multi-tactic, long-term solidarity that is rooted in building trust and uplifting the struggles of those in the margins of margins. And that's because the state is well poised and resourced to undermine movements. From 1955 to 1977, the FBI ran a program named COINTELPRO, whose mission was to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the activities of Black nationalist, hate-type organizations and groupings. And several tactics were employed during this time and continue to be used to this day. Snitch jacketing sowed distrust between organizers by portraying some as snitches. This was used to drive a rift between SNCC leader Kwame Ture, then known as Stokely Carmichael, and the Black Panther Party. The FBI also used unwarranted arrests and bogus trials to bankrupt organizations like the American Indian Movement. And it's well documented that there were orders to arrest them on every possible charge until they could no longer make bail. Agent provocateurs, or secret spies, were planted to supply information to authorities. In 1969, chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton, and Mark Clark were murdered by Chicago police in a shootout at his home. Hampton was sleeping next to his 8.5-month pregnant girlfriend, Deborah Johnson, who miraculously survived. And it was later proven that someone close to Hampton was working for the FBI and provided them with the information needed to carry out the murder. So what can we learn from COINTELPRO? This is all important to name because we have to see what the state is willing to do to end organizing work. And that just shows us how scared they are of us organizing. We have the gift of hindsight, and civil rights organizers operated with the information they had at the time. But what we can learn is the need to deepen our relationships and build trust with one another, to work in a culture of accountability that honors multiply oppressed identities, so that our work cannot be interrupted by outside manipulation. This includes building coalitions across generations and believing in the leadership of young people, as the great Ella Baker once taught us. And finally, I think it's also important to recognize the context of the term fascism, which has been thrown around a lot. There's a really great zine called Fascism and Anti-Fascism, a Decolonial Perspective, which is published by Indigenous Action. And they define US fascism this way. On its own soil, fascism is imperialist repression turned inward. So yes, it can happen here. And in fact, it's been happening for over 500 years to Black and Indigenous people specifically. The violence we see today has been perfected through the murder and removal of Indigenous people, through the kidnapping and enslavement of Black people, and the ever expansion of the insatiable carceral state. Settler colonialism requires the disappearance and delegitimization of the Indigenous right to land and the myth of inheritable enslavability of Black people. So if you doubt that fascism is possible in the US, know that it's also something that countries like Nicaragua and Guatemala and so many others have been put through because of anti-democratic US intervention. So fascism happening elsewhere should be taken just as seriously as fascism happening here. But it's not enough to say that we don't want fascism, right? We also have to put together a vision for the world we want instead. And if this history has taught us anything, it's that it's not going to be easy. And we're required to move in solidarity with one another in understanding each other's struggles. So I will leave you with a couple of main things to grab from this history. Get organized, solidify your personal relationships, and build power from the margins. The cost of not knowing what we want and leaving it up to outside leaders to decide is no longer something we can really afford to do anymore. And if you'd like to check out any of the sources that I used for yourself, I uploaded this slide to a link at bit.ly/healinghistorysources, and we can put that in the chat for you. Thanks, Lauren. I encourage you to check them out if you want to read more about all the things that I covered, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to May to talk about some strategy planning.
Thank you, Stacey. How is everyone doing? I want to thank you all for making the choice to be here with us tonight. If you are all at all like me, you've been moving through a barrage of raw emotions that have left you at times feeling utterly helpless and hopeless. And I want to acknowledge that your feelings are very valid. We are not overreacting. What appears to be a recent rise in fascism in our country for many who are just waking up is actually a long-standing pandemic of violence and oppression that has been plaguing Black and Indigenous people of color long before 2016. The night that we've been waiting for has come and gone, and here we are left with a tremendous amount of uncertainty. My hope is that prior to today that we have all began planning for some degree of unrest in the next coming days. And if you haven't begun planning, it's okay. You can start now, start writing it down tonight. What's important is you showed up here. Part of the work ahead is to convince others not to freeze or to just go along, yourself included. The intention of this portion of the presentation is not to instill fear or invoke chaos. It's imperative to remember that fascism thrives on chaos and fear, and we need our communities to be focused and prepared for what is to come. The better prepared we are, the more likely the attempt at a coup is thwarted by regular folks like you and me. We need to seriously acknowledge that mass direct action might be the only way to stop Trump from stealing this election. We all know that we can't rely on the state to look out for us in this moment. So being prepared and in practice of community care is absolutely crucial. Knee-jerk protest won't stop a Trump power grab. It's going to take several clear, sustainable strategies that together enable us to win. Now, with that being said, each person has a different risk model. Only you will know what you can or cannot handle and what you have the capacity for. And that's perfectly fine. Which is why it's important that the ideas I present to you today should be used as a guide for what works best for you in your personal circumstances. But first, let's take a moment to consider all the post-election scenarios. As of right now, Trump has made it very clear that he will not go quietly. We'll consider what's going to take place in the next coming days and weeks. Then we'll take a deeper dive into discussing the importance of safety in your strategy. Whether you plan on showing up for several actions, or if you decide to abstain from being in the streets, draft out your plan. In either case, you will need to be prepared to move quickly and preferably not alone. Last, we need to remember to take care. You must acknowledge that alone you cannot do everything. You cannot effectively push back against the state if you don't take care of yourself physically and mentally, if you are not honest and realistic about your capacity. So in planning tonight's presentation, we discussed the various scenarios that can play out as election day approached. And I knew that once this event took place, we could be closer to knowing exactly what is happening and how is this all going to play out. But let me just stress this, whether you are going to take to the streets or if you plan on staying home, we must find ways to apply civic pressure. We will hold our elected officials at the local, state, and federal levels accountable to fight for every vote to be counted. Trump spoke last night and said that if he's declared winner before all the votes are counted, then he will fight to cease counting ballots. So it's not a surprise to many that he's refusing to cede power. But we already knew that was coming. He has said so numerous times that he would not go out quietly. First things first, let's put a name to it. We are facing the attempt of the overthrow or alteration of an existing government by a small group. So let's call it a coup. Yes, a coup can happen in the United States. We need to call it what it is so we can mobilize accordingly. We need to be specific about the language so that people know it's wrong and a violation of democratic norms, even if they're not familiar with the exact definition of a coup. Hearing terminology like election tampering or voter suppression in everyday conversation, which has been happening increasingly leading up to where we are now, is a very alarming signal of the deterioration of the democratic process. We know that it is a coup when the government stops counting votes, if the government declares someone a winner who didn't receive the most votes, or if the government allows someone to stay in power who didn't win the election. These are sensible red lines that people can grasp right away. And while our intuition might tell us that we are powerless, passive observers of what is going on with our government and the election, we have to remember the power in numbers, the power of our communities. Popular uprisings can stop coups and have done so in the past. If you are here, chances are you realize that power of the people and you're willing and ready to go to work. The next crucial moments are moments of heroism amongst the general population. It's how we make democracy real. It is rare for any country's leader to publicly admit they might not respect the results of an election, and yet that's where we're at. Trump has repeatedly admitted to it. However, there's a glimmer of hope in knowing that, because when the people have to mobilize to stop a coup attempt, they rarely have the chance to get training, warning, or preparation. So in that way, we're way ahead of the game. When we strategize around safety at the community level, it's important to ask questions. I think we all have had moments when we couldn't articulate what we were specifically afraid of or upset about, and who can blame us? I mean, we are being pummeled by an onslaught of violence, indignity, and atrocity from all directions. And it's so difficult to make sense of the noise, let alone process what we're experiencing. So we need to disambiguate and pull complete thoughts out of our messy responses to chaotic news cycles and right-wing onslaughts. When you pause to gather your thoughts, confront your fears by asking yourself these questions. It'll help you figure out your priorities so far and will help you determine what you need in an emergency situation. So if we're confronting our fears, our first question is, what is the crisis? That may sound like a silly question, but it really isn't, especially amid all of the chaos we're experiencing. Once you've identified your primary fear, it'll be easier to confront. Then you can move on to assessing threats. What are the things you're afraid pose a direct threat or a potential direct threat to your immediate well-being? Are you primarily worried about right-wing violence? Are you concerned about mass power outages caused by climate catastrophes or other forces? Maybe you're concerned about what policing will look like in the upcoming days. Or maybe you're really worried about the rising second wave of COVID-19 amongst this increase in civil unrest. It may seem intimidating to write all these things down, but right now for a lot of people, these fears are just a chaotic haze, and people often don't know how to navigate that. So if we're going to talk about safety, we have to talk about what's making us feel unsafe. And we don't stop there. Continue to make notes about your most basic responses to things. For example, if we experience a power outage, what is your plan? What are you going to do for those first 10 minutes or after an hour without power? Do you have supplies on hand to assist you in the situation? Maybe you want to create a phone tree of people in your community who you can reach out to gather information. Maybe someone knows that it's unsafe in a particular area of town and you should avoid moving towards that space. Again, I know it can seem overwhelming to think through such difficult scenarios, but the more prepared you are, the safer you can keep yourself and your loved ones. You may find that you don't have any answers. You might end up with more questions than when you first thought about it, but that's perfectly okay because you have now discovered these important questions. So let's just keep it moving forward. Like I mentioned earlier, a knee-jerk protest is not going to be effective in stopping any attempts by Trump at a power grab. And a quick temperature check will tell you that going out unprepared is extremely dangerous right now. So please make a safety organizing plan before you head out. Our friends at Black Lives Matter SD, March for Black Women SD, and We All We Got have adapted an amazingly comprehensive post-election safety guide with tons of resources. You probably have seen it circulating on social media. This is a great tool to help you build your strategy. And I'll be sure to drop that in the chat for everyone in a little bit. So in making your plan, you can do so by asking yourself some key questions and then jotting those answers down. What level of action do you plan on engaging in? Have you researched de-escalation and safety resources? Do you have a list of materials necessary for protesting? This list would include items such as masks. Let's remember that we are still dealing with a global pandemic that has no end in sight, and San Diego County numbers are not promising. So if you're going to go out, please wear a mask. Hand sanitizers, flashlights, portable chargers for your phone, water, self-defense mechanisms of some sort, such as a taser, pepper spray. Again, this list can be found on the San Diego Post-Election Safety Guide. Do you have a pod? When the pandemic first hit earlier this year, folks became really engaged in the activity of pod mapping. In fact, ASC had a social solidarity event, which was a pod mapping workshop earlier this summer. And now is a good time to pick that up again. If you have never heard of pod mapping, we can drop a good resource for you in the chat as well. Pod mapping will allow you to identify the people you would call on if violence, harm, or abuse happened to you, or the people that you would call on if you wanted support in taking accountability for violence, harm, or abuse that you've done. So if you plan on participating in protests, it would be great preparation to have this information readily available. You want to be ready to act quickly and not alone. Talk to at least 5 people who would go into the streets with you. Plan on a meeting place or 2 should you lose each other in the crowd. Identify safe houses nearby that everyone in the group is aware of should you need to disperse and then regroup. Have bail fund information on hand. Write the number to the D.D. McClure Bail Fund on your person before you head out. I think most of the Active Asian Solidarity Collective members have this number memorized, and you should too. Know your rights before you take to the streets. Educate yourself, especially if participating in protests is new to you. Tensions are at an all-time high right now, and it's important that you know what is well within your rights when you're peacefully protesting. Protect yourself from surveillance. Make sure to fully encrypt the data on your phone before you head out to a protest. That way, if your device is confiscated by police, or if it's lost or stolen, full disk encryption can help protect the information on your phone. You should also disable face and finger recognition. You might want to also consider leaving your car at home. Police use automated license trackers. Be mindful of posting photos and videos of other protesters online where their faces, clothing, or their unique clothing are identifiable. Again, you can find a fully detailed resource list in the San Diego Post-Election Safety Guide. If you're planning on abstaining from protesting and plan to stay home or with a friend, there are ways you can prepare as well. Again, drafting out a plan should begin with asking yourself some key questions. If you're planning on staying with a friend, have you reached out to that friend already to let them know your plans? Do you have a meeting location set with that friend? Or if you're staying at home, create an exit and strategy plan. That would entail drawing a floor plan of your home and identifying the safest route to outside. Identify a meeting spot outside for your family and then practice that escape plan. Fill up your gas tank. You never know when you'll have to hop in the car and drive, and if you'll need to drive for a while. Chances are, if it gets to that point, everyone else will be planning to do the same. So try and avoid the chaos at the pumps by preparing ahead of time. Prepare a go bag. As stated earlier, you should be ready to act quickly in the days ahead. Putting together a go bag, if you don't have one already, is good planning. What would you put in a go bag to sustain yourself and your family temporarily if you had to flee? Make sure everyone in the family knows where the bag is. And again, everyone's go bag will hold different contents depending on your priorities and the needs of everyone in your household. But here are some suggestions. You might want to include medication, first aid kit, access tools such as inhalers or an expandable can, snacks, water, extra masks and hand sanitizer, MTS passes, extra cash, and portable chargers. Do you have supplies? If you're able to, plan to have supplies on hand to last you for at least a week. This includes groceries, including non-perishable items, ready-to-eat meals, toilet paper, paper towels, masks and sanitizer, pet food for those who have pets, batteries of all sizes, candles. Again, I'm going to point you to the super comprehensive San Diego post-election guide for a full list of the suggestions. I also want to stress that if you're one of the lucky ones who can acquire everything you think you might need for these purposes, it'd be nice to think, how can you help other people in crisis access those same items? You'll also probably want to plan on where to go when home is no longer safe. So make sure to familiarize yourself with the closest trolley station and bus stop to you. Take a look at trolley and bus stop schedules. Confirm the people who will go with you. Remember, plan to move quickly and not alone. If you can, identify friends to go with, as there's always safety in numbers. Also plan to have money on hand for an MTS trip or a rideshare. When it comes to confronting these very real and overwhelming fears, it's important to remind yourself that you cannot do everything. Civil unrest can have an impact on the entire community, including your mental health and well-being. And at a time when you are physically, mentally, and emotionally drained like I am, and your well-being has taken a dip, it's essential to take care of yourself and nourish your body. So take these tips and do what you can to keep yourself centered. Now, I'll admit the first one is really hard. I know doom scrolling is so very real because I'm so guilty of it every day. But in the last couple of days, I found other ways to channel my anxiety. I didn't follow election day to the extent that I really wanted to, and I'm grateful for pushing to do that. Make sure to take breaks from the barrage of information, which undoubtedly will worsen in the upcoming days. Find small windows in your day to do something that feels good. Take a quick walk around the block if it's safe. Watch something that will make you laugh. Listen to a really good album. Read that book that you've been putting off. And if you've been following these steps so far, you should be pretty comfortable with writing your thoughts down. So maybe take a moment to journal what you're processing at this moment. My friend and fellow ASC member, Amelia, will lead us through a journaling exercise here shortly, so I hope you all are ready with your pen and journal. Lastly, share your safety plan with your inner circle. What are some signs that they could look out for that you are not currently in a good place? What are some coping strategies that will help you? What would you like for them to do if you need emergency intervention? And again, the San Diego Post Election Safety Guide also has a collection of healing and mental health resources that you could familiarize yourself with. The Not Okay app is a digital panic button that takes the guesswork out of asking for help when you're feeling vulnerable. It's a free download. There's also the crisis text line. You text home to that number from anywhere in the United States, anytime. A live trained crisis counselor receives the text and responds, all from a secure online platform, and will help you move from a hot moment to a cool moment. There's also Blackline. Blackline is a 24/7 hotline text line offering peer support and counseling, reporting of mistreatment, and affirming the lived experience to folks who are most impacted by systematic oppression with an LGBTQ plus Black femme lens. So once you have your thoughts and your plans written out, talk about them. Have conversations with people you find it easy to talk to. Ask them what they would do in the same situations. Explain what you want in terms of help. Express these kinds of things and find out what your friends think they would need. Even if you're not the one who can meet those needs, these conversations will help you and your friends or family identify concerns and compare ideas. The people you care about might wind up better positioned to make their own plans on how to stay safe because of their talk with you. Organizer Kelly Hayes said, historically, survival is usually the work of people having each other's backs. And when we care about each other's survival and empower ourselves and each other to do something about it, we can accomplish so much. It's okay to be afraid, but try not to let the fear paralyze you into inaction and submission. Try and find some time in the next day or two before an election decision is made and the people respond to ask yourself these questions and take note. Have these difficult conversations. I know we are all worried about the uncertainty ahead, but we are all also living in a pandemic and during an era of economic and political collapse. So these formations of care and survival, whether they are mutual aid or some form of community response, are going to be essential. Hope is a discipline, so let's be disciplined. Let's protect the parts of ourselves that allow us to care for other people and for ourselves. So I want to thank everyone for your time, and I wish everyone well. Up next is Amelia for a healing and journaling session.
Thank you so much, May. My name is Amelia Bachtiar. Thank you, Stacey and May, for that informative lecture. Before we go into the healing portion of our event, I first wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the roots and history of self-care. The word self-care has been popularized and commercialized with an emphasis on class division, and oftentimes disempowers folks rather than empowering. Self-care has been capitalized by corporations as material goods and luxurious that are often priced with a high cost. Through understanding the true meaning of self-care, it will only help empower us and reclaim self-care. In the 1950s, it was adopted medically to describe activities for institutionalized patients to preserve some physical independence. And in the 1960s, academia began to take serious consideration on how self-care impacts those with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And the term soon was spread into the larger community. Now, not only did the Black Panther Party fight for freedom and liberation in marginalized communities and against police brutality, but they also provided community care and adopted the term self-care by distributing food to those in need, creating health clinics, building programs to educate and share accessible information with others, and more. The Black Panther Party put care into action in real, tangible ways for their communities. It was a way for folks to care for themselves again and to avoid activist burnout. When referring to self-care, it's important to note that I don't necessarily mean having a spa day or taking a bath. And yes, these modalities are great, but these are surface level forms of self-care. When engaging in self-care, are you taking care of your mental health needs and processing your emotions? Oftentimes, folks need to engage in these surface level forms of activities in order to become vulnerable and open to truly look within. So finding your form of self-care is essential, whether that looks like taking a walk on the beach with a friend, or going to the park alone and journaling, or meditating, or even as simple as hydrating and having your water with you. Making sure you laugh at least once every hour, or letting go of perfectionism. Now remember, self-care does not have to cost money, and it's truly your right to reclaim your own self-care practice. So for the purpose of tonight, we will engage in a few self-care methods, which is yoga. And now yoga includes breath work, meditation, and physical movements. And lastly, we'll end with journaling and reflection. Yoga is all about honoring your mind and body. So if any of these forms of healing aren't resonating with your mind and body, please listen to that and opt out if you need to. Sometimes listening can just be as therapeutic. Remember, this is your time and your healing. Now, there are a total of, Stacey, if you can actually go back. Yes, wonderful, thank you. So there are a total of 8 limbs to yoga, and one of them includes breath work, also known as pranayama. Pranayama is Sanskrit, and Sanskrit you'll hear me mention that a few times during my portion. Sanskrit is a classical literature language from South Asia. So I'm going to teach you 3 different breath techniques that help calm the mind. Now, the goal of pranayama is to strengthen the connection between your body and your mind. According to research, pranayama can promote relaxation and mindfulness. It's also proven to support multiple aspects of physical health, including lung function, blood pressure, and brain function. Everyone responds to breathwork differently. And for some reason you begin to feel activated by any of these, please stop and listen to your body. The first technique is equal parts breathing, Samavrti Pranayama. This breath work can shift your energy and connect you deeply with your body, calm your nervous system, and decrease overall stress. So in order to do this, you will inhale for 4 counts, hold the breath for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, hold the breath for 4 counts. So that's 1 cycle. We will do a total of 4 rounds, but before we begin, we will take a cleansing breath to anchor in our breath, and then we will close our eyes. So if you would like to join me in our pranayama, we will begin. I'm sitting on the floor, but if you're sitting in a chair, just find a comfortable seat or find some ease in your seat. I like to place my palms onto my thighs and find a nice tall spine, and just allow yourself to be free of any distraction if that is available to you. Yes, thank you. Hold the breath out. So that is that's exhaling out through your nose. So you will inhale for 4, hold the breath, retain the breath for 4, Exhale out through your nose as your mouth is closed for 4, and then hold the breath for 4. Thank you for asking that question. All right, so we will begin. Let's do one round just to see how everyone's feeling. And then if you have any questions, feel free to ask your questions in the chat. And then we'll do a total of 4 rounds. So sit nice and tall, relax your shoulders. And if you feel safe in this moment, close your eyes, or if you'd like, you can find a soft gaze in front of you. And before we focus on our breath, take a moment to acknowledge your surroundings. Notice if you hear any external noises. And rather than seeing these noises as a distraction, can you see them as parts of your practice and maybe an opportunity to help you stay even more present? Start by taking a deep inhale in through your nose. And a big open mouth exhale, let it go. And try to make your exhale as audible as you can. Let's do that one more time as a group. Take an inhale in through your nose. And an open mouth. We're going to do just one more. And I encourage you, on your exhale, can you sigh it out and make the biggest sigh as you can, releasing stress out from the day. Take an inhale and let it go. Now we will begin our one round of our square breathing, our box breathing. Take an inhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale out through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take an inhale and open mouth, let it go. Gently come back to the room. I'll take a moment to see if anyone has questions before we begin 4 rounds of that. Wonderful. Okay, so I don't see anyone with questions. So let's begin our 4 rounds. Close your eyes if you did so, or you can keep your eyes open, whatever resonates with you. Let's begin. Inhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Retain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale out through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Retain your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take an inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Retain the breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale out through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Retain the breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Last round. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale out through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Retain your breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Take an inhale and open mouth. And when you're ready, if you had your eyes closed, gently flutter them open. All right, now we're going to go into the next breath technique. Now, this next breath modality we will engage in is called cooling breath, Shitali Pranayama. One of the benefits of this breath technique is to reduce the temperature of the body, which does have a positive effect on calming your nervous system and mind. If you need to cool down literally and figuratively, this is a great method to adopt. So in order to do this, you're going to take your tongue and fold it in such a way that it becomes like the shape of a tube, like this. And you're slightly going to stick your tongue out of your mouth. And then what you're going to do is breathe slowly, like you're sipping through a straw. The air will pass through this tube to cool the mouth and your palate and your throat. And then the breath will fill your entire stomach. Now, and then you're going to close your mouth and then slowly exhale out through your nose. So I'll do one round so you can see this technique. So it looks like this. So you're gonna make a sound, so it's going to sound really just a little different. I'll do one more round. So the exhale is very soft and gentle, and the goal here is we want to extend that exhale. So you're going to feel a cooling sensation. So if you're feeling a little hot, this is great for you. So let's begin. Let's do one round actually, and let's see if anyone has questions. So once again, sit nice and tall, and if you'd like to keep your eyes open so you can look at me, go ahead and do so. Let's begin. Let's just do one more to see if anyone has questions about it. Inhale in. Hopefully you all feel a little cooler in your mouth. Any questions? No? Okay, perfect. We're going to do a total of 10 rounds, and I will cue us in on the count that we're in, but I'll do it along with you so you can have a visual on the pace that I'm going. But of course, if my pace is too fast or I'm going too slow, listen to your body. Let's begin. Going into 2. Three. 4. 5. 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 'Take an inhale and open mouth. Hopefully you all feel a little cooler than when we started. All right, going to our last breath work. And this is called alternate nostril breathing, Anuloma Viloma. By practicing this technique, we are balancing the polarities between our right and left side of our body. Now, your right energy channel is associated with heat and being active, and your left energy channel is associated with coolness, nourishment, and repair. We want to balance these two energy channels. If you start to become mindful throughout your day, there is always going to be one nostril that is dominant with your breath. And this technique is also a calming breath technique and helps build your lung capacity through the breath retention. All right, so I'm going to give you instructions on how to do it. With your right hand, you will find the Vishnu Mudra. Mudras in yoga are hand gestures that help us embody a certain element. This mudra is all about destroying your ego and putting your ego aside. So what you're going to do is drop your index and your middle finger down. Now, the reason why these two fingers are down is because they say that your index finger is the finger that you tend to point with, and it's very directed. And your middle finger, we all know that's a bad finger. So we're dismissing these two fingers. What you will do is with your right thumb, place your right thumb onto your right nostril. And then we will inhale through the left nostril for 4 counts. Then I will cue us to go to the other nostril. Now, when you close your left nostril, you're going to use both fingers. Make sure that it's not just one, but both. Then you're going to lift your thumb and exhale through your other nostril for 6. Then what you're going to do is close both nostrils, pinch your nose, and you want your mouth closed. And we're going to hold the breath for 6. So it's going to be inhale for 4, exhale for 6, hold the breath for 6. Traditionally, once you've built your lung capacity, the count is typically inhale for 4, exhale for 8, hold it for 16. And that sounds like a long time. And when you're learning, it's a really long time, but you're building that lung capacity. But for the sake of tonight, we're going to stick to 4, 6, 6. You want to make sure that your right elbow is directly pointing down. And then your hand stays in the Vishnu Mudra. At any point, if you start to panic, just open your mouth in the breath retention. I never want you to feel anxious during this practice. Okay, so we're going to do, I'll do one round so you can see what it looks like. So I'm plugging my right nostril. I'm taking a deep inhale through my left. Close my left nostril. Exhale out through my right for 6. Close both nostrils. Hold my breath for 6. One tip before we begin is when you take your inhale, take your biggest inhale that you can from your belly, deep from your belly. Visualize that happening. And then when you exhale, you want to be very soft and gentle and exaggerated so that you really focus on lengthening your exhales. All right? All right, everyone. If you would like to join along with me, go ahead and find your hand in the Vishnu Mudra. Right thumb and your ring finger and your pinky finger are up. Begin to place your right nostril or right thumb onto your right nostril. Let's take a deep inhale through your left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close your left nostril with both fingers. Exhale out through your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close both nostrils. Hold your breath. Stay calm. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to the right. Lift your thumb. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close your nostril. Exhale out through your left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close both nostrils. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Release your hand. Take an inhale. Keep your mouth closed. Exhale out through your nose. All right, any questions? Okay. All right, everyone. We are going to do 4 rounds. So going right to left and then left to right, that is 1 round. We're going to do a total of 4. Like I said earlier, if it doesn't resonate with your body or if it's activating you in some sort of way, please sit out and maybe practice a different breath technique that we learned earlier. All right, if you'd like to join me, find your hand in your Vishnu Mudra. Right thumb onto your right nostril. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Let's begin. Take an inhale through your left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close your left nostril. Exhale out through your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close both nostrils. Hold the breath. Stay calm. 3, 4, 5, 6. Lift your thumb. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close your nostril. Exhale out through your left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close both nostrils. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To the left, second round. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close your left nostril. Exhale out through your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close both nostrils. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lift your thumb. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close your right nostril. Exhale out through your left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close both nostrils. Hold the breath. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To the left. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close both nostrils. Exhale out through the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close both nostrils, retain the breath. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To the right. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close. Exhale out through the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close both nostrils. Hold the breath. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale through the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Close your left nostril. Exhale out through your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Close both nostrils. Hold the breath last time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remove your hands. Keep your mouth closed. Take an inhale. Exhale out through your nose. Take an inhale. Exhale out through your nose. Now, I did forget to mention that this is a cleansing breath. So it's natural for mucus to arise. If that is happening, be sure to blow out your nose. But it's suggested that you do this first thing in the morning. Yeah, that mucus will come up, which is a good thing. So maybe you feel a subtle difference of which side feels more dominant. All right, everyone. Now we will begin our physical movements and going into our meditation. And I said chair yoga. Typically I'm sitting in a chair, but I felt like sitting on the floor, just feeling more grounded. So again, if you're sitting in a chair, that is great. If you're sitting on the ground or if you're sitting on your couch, that is perfect. So find yourself in a comfortable seat. I'm just going to back up a little bit. And of course, once again, I always want to emphasize, if movement is not calling to you, please listen to your body. And if a movement doesn't feel good, don't force your body. All right. So sit nice and tall. Place your palms onto your thighs. And if it feels good, begin to close your eyes if it feels safe, or keep your eyes open. I just ask that you find one thing to focus on in front of you. We call this your drishti gaze, where nothing around this point matters. Let's start by taking a deep inhale in through your nose. And a big open mouth exhale, let it go. Once more, inhale. And open mouth exhale. Now begin to close your mouth and start to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. This is called your breath of yoga. Start by constricting the muscles in the back of your throat and creating an oceanic sound like waves hitting the shoreline. We're going to maintain this type of breath throughout our practice. In yoga, the priority is always your breath, and the poses always come secondary. Now take a moment to observe your internal world. Notice your thoughts. Give yourself some grace if you arrived in this space with a jumbled mind. Know that it's completely okay for your mind to be wandering. And if thoughts do come to mind, simply acknowledge them and let them pass without any judgment, of course. And then begin to shift your energy and your focus to your physical body. How do you feel physically? Maybe you need to even wiggle a little bit, moving side to side. Notice where you are holding onto tension. Notice where tightness is speaking to you. And can you send your breath to those areas that feel particularly tight? Or maybe you don't feel anything at all, and that is completely okay. Keeping your palms onto your thighs, you can open your eyes to look at me, or you can keep your eyes closed, whatever feels best. Begin to move your body in a circular motion, going around the world, guiding your chest forward, sending your chest back, and really exaggerate this movement. And just notice, where do you feel this movement? Maybe your low back, your hips. And then begin to move your body in the other direction. Now take a big inhale and exhale, find stillness. Keeping your hands on your thighs. Inhale, cow pose. Bend your elbows slightly, gently guide your chest forward and send your gaze up towards the ceiling. Relax your shoulder blades as much as you can and lift your chest up. Now take an inhale and exhale, cat pose. Lean back, round through your spine and pull your chin into your chest. Separate your shoulder blades as much as you can. Maybe you grab onto your knees to help you lean a little further back. All right, we're gonna go back and forth. Inhale, belly forward, send your gaze up. Move with your breath. Exhale, cat pose. Send your chest back, round your spine, chin into your chest. Inhale, belly forward, send your gaze up. Exhale, round through your spine, chin into your chest. Twice more. Inhale, belly forward, send your gaze up. Exhale, round through your spine, chin into your chest. Once more. Inhale, belly forward, send your gaze up. Exhale, round through your spine, chin into your chest. On your next inhale, begin to find a neutral spine. Going next to our hands and our wrists. Begin to move your wrists in a circular motion. Maybe at the same time you begin to open and close your wrists and just move freely. Maybe you're experiencing some noises through your wrists. I sure am. And try not to judge, just notice. And then maybe switch to the other direction. We do so much with our hands. So it's so important that we give them some love. Now take an inhale. Exhale, place your hands onto your thighs. And then press your fingertips onto your thighs, but be mindful of your shoulders. Inhale, lift the heels of your palms off your thighs. So only your fingertips are touching. And if you're feeling sharp pain, please back off, but go as far as it feels good in your body. Exhale, drop the heels of your palms down. Inhale, lift the heels of your palms. Exhale down. Inhale, lift. Exhale down. 2 more. Inhale, lift. Exhale down. Inhale, lift. Exhale down. Now begin to extend your left hand forward. I'm going to mirror you. With your right hand, bring your fingertips back. Be mindful of your shoulders, that it stays relaxed. Begin to move your thumb in a circular motion. That's it. Continue to breathe. Now take an inhale. And then exhale. Slowly release. Drop your fingertips down. And then pull your fingertips back. And then begin to wiggle your thumb. Be mindful of your breath. Take an inhale. And then exhale, slowly release. Let's move to the other side. Extend your right hand up. Pull your fingertips with your left hand. And then begin to wiggle your thumb here. Just notice your thoughts. Take an inhale. Exhale, point your fingertips down and pull your fingertips towards your body. And then wiggle your thumb. Take an inhale. And then exhale, slowly release. Inhale, stretch your arms over your head. If this feels uncomfortable, you can always place your hands onto your shoulders. And then begin to move your arms in a circular motion. Finding expansion through your chest, your shoulders, your side bodies, and make as big of circles as you can. It also looks like this, and just move. Notice the tempo of your breath as you begin to find movement in your arms. And then begin to move in the opposite direction. Now take an inhale and exhale. Begin to interlace your fingers at the nape of your neck. Guide your elbows as wide as you can and allow your head to rest heavy. Inhale, lift your head up, open your elbows wide and send your gaze up towards the ceiling. Take an inhale, exhale, pull your chin into your chest, guide your elbows towards the center of your body and finding a gentle stretch through your neck. Inhale, lift your chest up, open your elbows wide. Exhale, pull your chin into your chest. Inhale, lift your chest up. Exhale, curl in. Inhale, and then exhale, slowly release. Begin to place your right hand onto your left ear and extend your left arm out. Find a long spine, take an inhale, and exhale, gently pull your ear towards your right shoulder blade and begin to tuck your chin into your chest and look down at the ground. Pretend as if you had fish gills and that oxygen is directly coming out through the side of your neck. And just breathe. Notice the quality of your breath. Take an inhale. And then exhale, begin to place your hand at the back of your skull and gently pull your chin down towards your right armpit. Hopefully your armpit smells good. Just kidding. Breathe. Just one more breath cycle. Take an inhale and exhale. Inhale, slowly come back to center. Let's move to the other side. Left hand to your right ear. And exhale, gently pull your head towards your shoulder. The more that you tuck your chin in, the deeper of the sensation you'll feel to the right side of your neck. Move with your breath. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. On your next inhale, place your hand at the back of your skull. Begin to pull your chin down towards your left armpit. And sending breath through the back of your neck. And just breathe. Inhale, slowly rise back to center. Now going into a twist. Inhale, reach your arms over your head. And exhale, place your left hand onto your right thigh. If you have a back to your chair, you can grab for the back of your chair. Or if not, you can just grab for whatever's behind you. Or even finding a half bind if you want to place your right arm at your lower back, whatever feels best. Now look forward, find length through your spine. Take an inhale and exhale, slowly bend your elbows and twist a little deeper. Inhale, gaze to the front, find length through your spine, straighten your elbows. Exhale and twist. Twice more. Take an inhale and exhale. One last time, inhale and exhale. Inhale back to center. Let's move to the other side. Left hand to the outside of your right thigh or your knee. Bring your left hand back. Relax your shoulders. Take an inhale, lengthen through the crown of your head. And exhale, twist as you gaze over your left shoulder. Go as far as your body will allow you to. Inhale back to center. And exhale, twist. Inhale to center. And exhale, twist. One last time, inhale to center. And exhale, twist. Inhale to center. And slowly release your hand. Just shake it out. Now inhale, stretch your arms over your head. And exhale, cactus your arms. Spread your fingers as wide as you can. Keep your elbows in the same line as your shoulders. Now take a big breath in. And exhale, find a gentle back bend. You're going to lift your chest up towards the ceiling. If you are experiencing pain in your shoulders, you're more than welcome to just keep lifting your chest. Whatever feels best. Now take an inhale. And exhale, round through your spine, cross your arms in front of one another, pull your chin into your chest. Just like our cat and cow like we did earlier. We're going to repeat. Inhale, bend your elbows, squeeze your elbows towards your mid-back, look up, and exhale, round. Inhale. Inhale, look up. Exhale, round. 2 more. Inhale. And exhale. Once more. Inhale. And exhale. Slowly release. Just like we started, keep your hands on your thighs and just begin to move your body in a circular motion. And maybe just ask yourself, how do you feel from when you started movement, and how do you feel now? And then moving your body to the other direction. And then slowly finding stillness. Inhale, shrug your shoulders into your ears. And exhale, bring your shoulder blades back. Let the release feel good. Inhale, shrug your shoulders into your ears. And exhale. Inhale, lift. And exhale. Now going forward. Inhale, lift. And exhale, bring your shoulders. 2 more. Inhale. And exhale. 1 more. Inhale. And exhale. Begin to find stillness here. And you can close your eyes if that feels safe, or focus on your drishti, that one point that you're focusing on. Take a deep inhale in through your nose. And an open mouth, exhale, let it go. Going into our body scan meditation. Connecting with your breath. Take an inhale and an open mouth, exhale. 1 more, inhale and open mouth. Now, can you return to your natural rhythm of your breath? And just notice how you feel. Without any judgment, just noticing. And begin by bringing your attention into your body. Notice the feeling of the weight of your body on your chair, the floor, wherever you are. And as you breathe, notice how your chest and abdomen expand to allow the air to enter your lungs. What sensations are you aware of? And as you exhale, bring your awareness to the stillness and notice the sense of relaxing more deeply. Now bring your attention to the top of your head, noticing any sensations to your scalp, down the back of your head, to the sides of your head, your face. Notice your jaw. If you're holding any tension in your jaw, and let your face be soft. And relax the muscles around your eyes and your mouth. Remembering to breathe in and breathe out. Now notice your neck and your throat. Let them be soft. Notice your shoulders and arms. Do you feel any sensations as you allow your attention to move from your shoulders down to your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, hands, and fingers. Notice any tightness, any temperature sensation. Noticing what the fabric of your clothing feels like against your skin. Continuing to breathe. And then slowly bring your awareness to your belly, your lower back. And notice if you are holding any tension, can you let go and release? And then start to travel down to your legs, your thighs, your calves, your ankles, your toes, maybe even wiggling your toes. And then if your feet, if they're connected into the ground, just noticing the sensations, feeling pressed into the earth, feeling any energy in your feet. And now visualize your entire body as a whole, seeing the unity with your mind and body. And then slowly cross your arms and begin to give yourself a big squeeze, wrapping your arms around your entire body, giving yourself the biggest hug of this day, and just thanking your body for being with you throughout your entire life thus far. Take an inhale and exhale, slowly release. And then place your palms in front of your heart, uniting our right and left brain hemisphere. We end our meditation and our yoga practice with one cleansing breath. Start by taking an inhale and an open mouth exhale. Always remember to find the peace within the chaos, to use your privilege to spread knowledge, to honor the indigenous Kumai land that we're on, and to have gratitude for the Indian yoga practitioners for this practice of healing and liberation. Option to bring your palms to your third eye center, the space right in between your eyebrows. From my heart to yours, I truly bow forward with gratitude. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're gonna go into our final self-care healing technique, journaling. There are so many benefits to journaling, and there's something to be said about writing all of your unfiltered thoughts on paper, where no one but you can see them. It also helps one process emotions. So I offer 6 short journaling prompts that I will guide you in. If you can grab your writing tool and a journal or a notebook, this would be a good time. We will begin with 1 minute, a stream of consciousness, where you write out anything that comes to mind. And know that it doesn't have to make any sense. It can be random words or even pictures. This helps your mind and body get warmed up for journaling. So if you are ready, I'll set the timer. And I just want you to write fluidly. And of course, if journaling is not calling to you in this moment, don't force yourself. In the time, I'll anchor in the bell. We're going to begin. And write super duper fast. It doesn't have to be your prettiest, your neatest handwriting. Just writing any thoughts that come to mind, how you're feeling, any frustrations, whatever that might be. And if you feel like you have nothing to write, I feel like I have nothing to write. You're halfway there. And can you all hear me? I think I'm freezing up. Okay. All right. So if you would like to begin our next journaling prompt, write down one thing on, what is one thing on my mind? I'll write it in the chat. One thing on my mind is, and then if you're ready to go to the next prompt, one thing on my heart is, and the next one is, and take your time, what is the emotion that you are feeling in your body right now? Really tapping into that connection with your mind and body. And the next question is, in what ways am I putting the needs of others before my own? And the next one, list 3 opportunities to treat yourself with self-love and care. The next one is, what is one thing you are grateful for right now? And the last one is, My commitment at this moment is ... We wanted to open this last part for anyone who would like to share their journaling reflection or any reflections or thoughts that came up during our History and Healing Summit, or any questions. So we open up the floor to you all. All right. Wonderful. I love that. Thanks for sharing all of your reflections and thoughts in the chat. It certainly has been a pleasure being able to guide you in some healing modalities. And I hope that you can take these and adopt these. And I'm always here for questions. And that is all from my end. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Amelia. That was so beautiful. I'm feeling healed today, and I'm so grateful for everybody who has been joining us here on Zoom for this event. As a reminder, we have an event coming up this Friday with our action committee. And if you're interested in more events like this, we do social solidarity events the first Wednesday of every month. We would love for you to join us, join our mailing list and become a member today. You can find out more about ASC on our website at www.asiansolidaritycollective.org or by following Asian Solidarity Collective on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you to everyone who made today possible, especially Darren and Melissa for the care you give to providing accessibility. And thank you to the amazing ASC volunteers and our entire Asian Solidarity Collective membership and supporters. Please show someone some love and care at the moment, even if that person is you. And thank you all for joining us. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
I'm gonna leave this out.
Has everyone here? Let me stop